So let's have a look at this really good quote from G'day. Man cannot discover new oceans unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore. Let's put woman in there too. Man and women cannot discover new oceans unless he or she has the courage to lose sight of the shore. Do you know the really scary part about discovery? Sometimes we make the best discoveries after we've experienced pain, suffering. Sometimes we need to move through darkness in order to come to the light. The other thing about discovery is that sometimes we discover things the best when we're lost. There's a beautiful writer called Susan Solnit, S-O-L-N-I-T. If you Google her, you'll find her. And she talks about the art of getting lost. And when you're lost, that's often when you discover things you might never have considered before. So I'm going to give you an example about discovering new oceans. But you've got to have courage to do that. You've got to open your eyes and see things. I had always wanted to go to Hawaii. And my parents had been there every year. My father had done the Molokai surf ski race, 30 miles in open sea. And I'd always wanted to go because my parents loved Hawaii. When I went there, I drove a car down the west coast and I saw family after family in blue Brattas tents, homeless. And when I went back to the strip with all those beautiful shops and all the people, I couldn't see Hawaii any other way now except not looking after its own people. And suddenly I had to have the courage to lose sight of what most tourists see. So you've got to then think about this as a really nice thesis. How an individual responds to a discovery is contingent. In other words, is based on how they view the world, based on their assumptions, perceptions, context, and values. So let's look at those last 3 points then. Assumptions, perceptions, context, and values again. Assumptions are really your preconceived ideas. Your perception, remember what I said earlier? Your perspective, your senses, your experiences, your context, your family, your culture, historical and social. And the last one are your values, which is in the rubric, and it's really hadn't been stressed before, prior to discovery. And that really is your core ethical beliefs, your values. What do you hold to be true? Is it integrity? Is it compassion? Is it love? So think about when you're reading the text and when you're writing your own, what's my character or what are my characters I'm engaging with? What do they believe in? What do they value? The second one I'm going to use, you've probably all seen this because it's probably the most used quote about discovery. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Marcel Proust. It's about perception, perspectives. It's about having, as I said before, Carol Dweck talks about a growth mindset. That simply means you've got an open mind and you're willing to see things new, you're willing to be challenged. And that's probably, I think, for all of us as human beings, just so difficult. And that's what you're going to find when you look at the text or even when you write your own piece. Do the characters or the persona in the poems, do they in fact challenge the way they see the world and open their eyes and suddenly embrace new understandings? So based on Proust, what's a thesis we then come up with or a point of view? When we're open to the potential of new discoveries, our perceptions and understanding of ourselves and others can be transformed. So the really fascinating thing about this, it's actually life-changing for you yourself. If you are willing to embrace new ideas, if you're willing to look at the world differently, then you can actually change and you can learn so much from others. And that's what you've got to see in the world of your texts. You are going to encounter some characters who in fact refuse to do this. And that's where it's going to be interesting in essay writing because you're going to actually contrast them.